Right, so the most important holiday in my culture, which is French, I was born in France and grew up in France, is the 14th of July, which is a day when we celebrate and remember the revolution of 1789, when ordinary people basically rose up and challenged the monarchy. So from this point, France became effectively a republic. And in every town and every village, there are festivities, people come together to eat, drink, dance, play music, and obviously the streets are decorated with the colors of the French flag, blue, white and red. And there is a very big military parade in Paris. Okay, I used to... You want some specific examples?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've traveled to quite a few countries. For example, I used to organize a school trip to Israel. And one of the things I liked to do was to celebrate the Sabbath meal. The Sabbath meal is the Friday evening, because for Jews, the Sabbath, which is mostly the Saturday, is a day of rest, and the Friday evening is when you have a celebration with special food and drink. So when I organized these trips to Israel, I always liked to make sure that we celebrated the Sabbath meal on the Friday evening. I have just come back from Uzbekistan, where I found that they also celebrate the equivalent of Naris. I think they call it Navroz, which means in Persian means the new day. So it was very interesting to me to see that actually in Uzbekistan they celebrate Naris in ways which are quite similar to Kazakhstan. So there are special foods, special stories, music, decorations. So that was also very interesting to see how similar and different the same festival is celebrated in two countries which are quite close to each other. I do consider myself a global citizen. I think to be a global citizen, I think means to take an interest in the traditions and the customs and the history of countries which are not your own, especially to try and understand how similar other people are, other cultures are, and how different. And I think the more you learn about other cultures and the more you come to understand, I think it helps you then appreciate actually, that there are so many different ways of being human, but in the end, people are people. And that actually doesn't matter where you travel in the world, even sometimes when you don't speak the same language, you feel that there's a connection between you, who comes from one culture, and somebody else who comes from a completely different culture. So there is this being aware of how different we are, but also being aware that actually we are all, in the end, human beings, and that we need to live together and work together. So, I think it is very important to keep your the traditions of your culture, because who we are as individuals is largely shaped really by the culture you come from. So to remember and celebrate traditions is a way of remembering who you are and where you come from. So it is an important part of your identity. But I think you must also not forget that maybe not every tradition in your own culture maybe it is right to keep it going. There are some, usually most cultures have at least maybe some things which actually come from the past, and maybe what they do is that they emphasize the superiority of your culture over other cultures, and I find this doesn't help global citizenship. I think much better to celebrate your traditions and your cultures, but not then come to the belief that your culture is superior and better to everybody else's. I think let's rejoice and celebrate our identity, but let's not think that my culture is the best and everybody else then is therefore inferior. So I think it's a question of balance. Let's keep the traditions, but let's not be limited by them in terms of how we see ourselves and our relationship to the rest of the world.
Bon, j'aimerais souhaiter à tout le monde, à Nissa, un très joyeux 1er mai.
Okay, for us Christmas is a huge celebration because we basically start celebrating from the 8th of December until the 6th of January. So the 8th of December is the candle night. We have that is a night where you go out in front of the house and you light many different candles, but you get together with the neighbors. So it's like the first celebration. Then we used to pray the full 9 days before Christmas. We are every night getting together to pray, eat, celebrate a lot of food and sweets and all kind of bad food. Then, so Christmas night, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we get together too. Then it is New Year, that is the same celebration that you have here. And we used to get together too, and that is another celebration in December too. Then we have Noche de Reyes is when we celebrate the day that the 3 wise men came into the portal to meet Jesus Christ. And in that moment, we finish all the Christmas celebrations. So as you see, are many in less than a month. So it's a time where we really get together with our families and our kids and that stuff. It's very nice. Christmas time is very nice.
I think that in these times, most of the people consider themselves global citizens. Yes, of course, when you start traveling and sharing with other cultures, you start being part of the general world. But I consider that it's very important to keep your nationality and keep your roots as clean and pure as you can.
What traditions of other cultures do you know?
There are a lot of different influences that we have. So, for example, in Colombia, we used to share many of the American traditions as Valentine's Day, sometimes Thanksgiving. I shared the Eastern celebration from Germany, some of the, how do you say that in English? The Adviento, that is German too, so are some of the ones that I know and used to celebrate.
Right. So the most important holiday is something called Diwali, which actually means a festival of lights. And the story goes that there was a king who went and killed an evil person, and when he came back, it was after a long time, people celebrated by putting a lot of lights to welcome him. And in India on that day you have a lot of fireworks also in the night. So that is perhaps the one of the biggest festivals in India. It's mostly a North Indian festival, but still it's equally celebrated by South Indians, right? I know Nowroz, the Kazakh festival. Also, since I was in Indonesia, in Jakarta, they have festivals which are similar to the Indian festivals, but it has a different cultural feel to it, even though it's influenced by India. So I used to enjoy those. And another one over there was the Chinese New Year, which I really liked and I got exposed to, which was a completely new thing for me. Okay, now I have been out of India for nearly 5 years now, and I have lived in Jakarta, and now I'm living in Kazakhstan. And in between, like, I have visited Singapore, I have visited the US last year. So my whole perspective and outlook has changed because you meet with different people, different cultures, so you become more broad-minded. And of course, so my whole thinking, there's a difference in my thinking now, how I look at people. So I'm not very enclosed Indian thinking. So in a way, it has broadened the whole perspective. That's why I feel I'm like more of a global citizen.
Okay.
Yes, I think in spite of we are having a lot of globalization, but globalization doesn't mean that you avoid localization. In the sense, globalization means you appreciate the different cultures which are around, not necessarily mix them up and create some new culture. So I think it's important to retain your culture because it gives you a sense of identity. But at the same time, you shouldn't be too rigid about it, and you should appreciate other cultures. So that's the sense I have. Like, maintain your culture, but appreciate and see other different cultures as well. Wish you all a very happy 1st of May. Thank you.
Okay, in Canada, the most important holiday is Christmas, and it's not because everybody goes to church. Most people don't. But most people actually do have Christian values, which are compatible with other cultures in many cases. And it's also a family holiday. So that's a holiday everyone really celebrates, everyone gets together. Nuclear family, often also extended family, no one's working. So it's the most important holiday. Many, but I'm going to talk about Men's and Women's Day here in Kazakhstan. Because it is different from what is done in other countries. There used to be Saints' Days of the Orthodox Church, and now they're celebrating men and women. And I think it's good, the way the women entertain the men, the way the men entertain the women. And they celebrate their differences and they celebrate their similarities. It's for fun. No one works hard. It's generous. And it's community-oriented, and everyone has a sense of humor. I like it. No, I'm not a global citizen. I'm a citizen of Canada. I don't pay taxes to any global government. I don't want there to be a global government because I think if there was, it would be a dictatorship. As it is, our government in Canada doesn't represent us very well, and I pay taxes to them. So the last thing I want is to pay taxes to a global government that doesn't represent me at all. That doesn't mean I don't like the idea of everyone collaborating. I just don't think that there's any globalist movement in the world that could earn the respect of a global citizenry. But that's not because I don't like the idea, I just don't think we're there yet.
Well, we have, actually it's a country of festivals, frankly. We have loads of festivals, but one of them is the biggest one, and yes, my favorite is we call it Diwali, which is a festival of lights, which is similar to Nowruz actually. People wear new clothes, they come out of the houses, they meet their friends, relatives, and children, they enjoy crackers, firecrackers. So everything is like, bright on that day in India, and schools usually, because I like it. Another reason is there are holidays for teachers also. 2 weeks, so that's why I love it. I know one interesting tradition of Indonesia. They have their biggest festival, and the name is Nepi. During the Nepi, you can't imagine, you have to sit in your house and you cannot come out throughout the day. So you lock yourself 7 o'clock in the morning and 12 o'clock in the midnight, okay? You cannot come out of the house. It's not only that. When the evening starts, like when there is darkness, right? You have to switch off the lights, and there will be complete darkness in Indonesia, especially one island called as Bali. So people don't come out, they don't switch on the lights, no television, no cell phone, nothing. That's the day basically you can introspect yourself and next day after that maybe they come out of the house and then they enjoy the dance, and that's amazing. I like it because it's good for environment. Imagine entire island of like 400,000 people not using electricity, no television, no cell phone, everything is stopped. Wow, that's awesome. Yes, I do. I travel a lot. So far I have traveled 28 countries. I have worked in 4 countries. This is my 4th country, and yes, I'm working with basically students, so I know the culture of a country better than any other profession. So that's how I'm global citizen, and I'll be keep traveling. When I travel alone. So I face lots of challenges. I meet new people, and there are some difficult situations, but I manage, and that is what we call global citizen. Frankly, I don't have the correct answer for this question. Up to some extent, yes, we should. If we follow, then there will be identity of particular nationality. Okay? If we do not follow it, there won't be identity. Okay. So my first answer would be yes, we should follow. But if those traditions are actually, causing some problems, then we should avoid them. For example, tradition of let's take example of my country, India. The tradition is like that: you must have a son in the family. If no son, then family is incomplete. What kind of tradition is that? And because of that, they keep having the babies. Look at the population. So if the tradition actually is causing some problem to the society, to the nature, to the environment, stop it. But if it is helping, if it is good, follow it, like what Indonesia has. Okay?
I think the most important quality probably that internationally we're recognized for is that we're supposed to be pretty nice people. We're supposed to be polite, say please and thank you. We're supposed to be kind of easygoing and relaxed. I hope that's true. I've lived all over the world, so 5 or 6 different countries. So we've been involved in a lot of different traditions like Ramadan and Al-Fitr, things like that. So eating a lot of food, but all kinds of traditions related to ancestors and so there's so much more than probably I even can remember. And even in Canada then engaging in some of the cultural practices of the First Nations. I think that's one of the reasons we're overseas is we want to see what the world has to offer and what people are like. Am I a global citizen? I hope I'm a global citizen. How is that for an answer? Because I think one of the things is trying to be global, but then also try to respect where you come from. And I think those two things come into conflict sometimes. And I think I have a better sense of the world that I live in. I have a lot more respect for the world I live in. And I think probably that makes me more of a global citizen than someone who stays in their own country. So the idea of tradition versus progress, I feel like tradition is a good thing to have, though I would challenge some of the traditions that I don't know why they're there or what they're doing, but there's some of those old ways of life, but they don't hinder the progress that we have. And so I feel like, it has to be a balance of progress and tradition, and some things will go the wayside. I remember way back when I was in university, a professor saying to me, do we live in a zoo? And if we live in a zoo, then you can keep everything exactly as it was, and we don't. So things will go away, and we will lose things that we remember or that we think are part of our culture, and we will maybe be sad about that. But other things will be happy that are gone, and we've moved on, and we have new ideas and new practices. So I think it's up to everybody to decide which traditions they hold on to and which ones they don't, in light of the world that we live in.